You met your wife, and excuse me if I got this wrong, and I just started twitching when I heard this. She came over to the house. You didn't even have to leave the house.
I didn't leave the house. No. No, it's the wildest thing. A mutual friend of ours said, I'm stopping by, and can I bring my friend? And I was like, of course. I got a call from my agent who called me and said, I met this woman who's coming to your house who you're going to marry.
Whoa.
Can a perfect life collapse without a single scandal? For decades, George Clooney seemed untouchable, Hollywood's true gentleman, the man who had it all: fame, respect, love, and the life most people only dream of. But what happens when the picture of perfection starts to quietly fall apart? Not through betrayal or headlines, but through time, distance, and the silence in between. Behind the red carpets and flawless smiles, there was a story few ever saw. One of reflection, regret, and the kind of honesty that left fans stunned. Because when Clooney finally spoke, what he revealed wasn't gossip. It was truth, raw, human, and heartbreakingly real. Before we uncover the full story, make sure to subscribe and click the bell icon, because today we're diving into the untold reality behind one of Hollywood's most admired love stories. From eternal bachelor to believer in love, for most of his career, George Clooney was Hollywood's most famous bachelor, a man who seemed to have outsmarted both heartbreak and commitment. After his brief and painful marriage to actress Talia Balsam ended in the early 1990s, he made a quiet promise to himself: never again. In interviews, he turned that decision into a running joke. "I'm just not very good at marriage," he'd say with a grin, and the world believed him. It became part of his legend, the charming, self-aware rebel who had everything except a wedding ring. While friends settled down and started families, Clooney poured his energy into his craft. Movie sets became his home, co-stars his companions, and political causes his second career. He was rarely seen without a smile, often surrounded by friends or fans. Yet when the lights dimmed and the laughter faded, even George admitted there were moments when the silence felt heavy. Fame could fill a schedule, but it could never fill the quiet corners of a house built for two. Still, he carried that solitude with grace. Never bitter, never desperate, just seemingly content to live life on his own terms. The image of independence suited him perfectly. To the public, he was untouchable, the man who needed no one. But destiny has a way of rewriting even the most determined stories. And then came a summer that no script could have predicted. The year 2013, at his villa on Lake Como, when someone walked into his life who wasn't dazzled by his fame, his films, or his fortune, and everything began to change. Meeting Amal, the shift no one expected. It began quietly, the kind of meeting that changes everything but feels ordinary at first. It was the summer of 2013 at George Clooney's villa on Lake Como, a place where laughter and late-night talks often filled the air. A mutual friend arrived with a guest, a woman who would alter the course of his carefully guarded life, Amal Alamuddin, an Oxford-educated human rights lawyer whose world revolved around justice, not fame. Unlike the countless faces George had met in Hollywood, Amal wasn't starstruck. She was poised, brilliant, and effortlessly confident, and when they spoke, she met his charm with wit and intellect. It wasn't flirtation, it was connection. Clooney later admitted that when she walked into the room, everything was different on every level. That difference caught him off guard. For the first time in decades, he wasn't the one in control of the conversation. What began as casual correspondence turned into long nights of laughter and quiet dinners away from cameras. Amal didn't chase his world, she challenged it. Her work with the United Nations, her speeches before the International Criminal Court, and her relentless pursuit of justice grounded him in a reality far from Hollywood glamour. Then came April 2014, a simple evening in George's kitchen that would rewrite his story. He had hidden a diamond ring inside a drawer and waited nervously as Amal talked about her day. Minutes passed, and she never noticed. Finally, half laughing, half desperate, he said, "I'm 52 years old and my knee's going to give out soon." Amal said yes, and the world's most confirmed bachelor became a believer in forever. That September, Venice turned into a scene from a film, gondolas gliding under golden light, celebrities celebrating by candlelight. It wasn't just a wedding, it was a declaration that even the man who claimed he'd never love again had found someone worth breaking every promise for. To the world, it looked like perfection, and for a time, it truly was. Golden years, the power couple the world envied. For a few golden years, George and Amal Clooney seemed to embody everything modern love could be: elegance, purpose, and devotion woven together. When their twins, Ella and Alexander, were born in 2017, George called it the greatest moment of my life. Parenthood softened him, grounding the movie star in something deeper than fame. Amal, balancing motherhood with her demanding legal career, continued to fight for human rights on the world stage, while George directed socially conscious films and supported humanitarian causes. Together, they became more than celebrities, they became symbols. The Clooney Foundation for Justice worked to defend journalists, activists, and vulnerable communities worldwide. They stood at the intersection of glamour and morality, proof, it seemed, that love could be both beautiful and meaningful. Every red carpet appearance turned into a portrait of unity, every interview into an insight on shared respect. Their homes, from Lake Como to their Provence estate, were often described as havens of peace, where laughter from their children echoed through olive groves, and candlelit dinners replaced Hollywood chaos. Friends called them inseparable, the couple who somehow made fame look effortless. But behind that seamless partnership, life was becoming increasingly complex. Amal's work took her across continents, from London to The Hague, while George spent long nights on set, chasing creative visions that demanded his full attention. The same drive that had once inspired them now began to divide their time. From the outside, everything still gleamed: the elegance, the smiles, the perfect image, but even perfection has its price. Because when two brilliant worlds orbit too far apart for too long, something, no matter how golden, begins to strain under its own shine. Even gold, under enough pressure, can crack. The cracks begin: distance and double lives. By 2025, the perfect rhythm of George and Amal Clooney's marriage began to slow. Amal had accepted a prestigious teaching position at the University of Oxford, balancing lectures and international human rights cases. George, meanwhile, was immersed in preparing for his long-awaited Broadway debut in Good Night and Good Luck. For the first time in their marriage, they weren't just emotionally apart, they were living on different continents. They told friends it was temporary, just work. But the days apart stretched into months, and those long calls began to feel more like obligations than comfort. Amal's structured life of academia contrasted sharply with George's creative and unpredictable routine. The same independence that once drew them together was now slowly turning into distance. When asked about their relationship, George told People magazine that he and Amal have never had an argument, a line that charmed the public but also raised quiet questions about emotional communication. Experts later noted that too much harmony can sometimes hide what words never resolve. The smiles and red carpets continued, but beneath the elegance was exhaustion. Two people trying to stay connected while the world kept pulling them in opposite directions. Quick pause. If you're enjoying the story so far, hit subscribe and stay with us for the next twist. The relapse. A night that changed everything. Sometimes the unraveling of a story doesn't come with betrayal or shouting. It comes with a single quiet mistake. For George Clooney, that moment arrived on a glittering June night in 2025 at the Tony Awards in New York. It was supposed to be a celebration of achievement, a rare evening where he and Amal appeared together, smiling, confident, and seemingly unbreakable. Cameras flashed, fans cheered, and the Clooneys once again embodied Hollywood perfection. But as the night stretched on, celebration quietly blurred into something else. A brief escape from the pressure, the distance, and the silence that had crept into their marriage. George, who had proudly stayed sober for years, later admitted in Esquire that he decided to catch up on lost time in one evening. He laughed about it publicly, calling it a harmless misstep, but Amal didn't see it that way. For her, it wasn't about the drink, it was about what it symbolized. It reminded her of the younger George she had never met firsthand but had heard stories about, the one who lived recklessly, partied hard, and shrugged off responsibility. She had fallen in love with the man who had outgrown that version of himself. The father, the partner, the man of control and principle. Seeing him slip, even for a night, felt like watching the foundation they built begin to tremble. Friends close to the couple later revealed that Amal was deeply upset, not out of anger but fear. Fear that old patterns might return. She told him she couldn't overlook it. One insider said, not because she didn't love him, but because she needed to trust he wouldn't go back. The days that followed were tense and quiet. George withdrew, embarrassed and regretful, while Amal turned inward, her disappointment visible in her silence. What was meant to be their sanctuary, their home in Provence, felt suddenly heavy. The applause from the Tony Awards had long faded, but for George, the echo of that night lingered. In private, he realized that it wasn't fame or pressure pulling him apart. It was something more human, more painful, the slow recognition that even love can't protect us from ourselves. Behind closed doors, silence instead of fights. After that difficult summer, George and Amal retreated to their estate in Provence, acres of vineyards, olive trees, and endless sky. It was supposed to be a healing place, a retreat from the noise of tabloids and schedule. Yet within those stone walls, peace turned into distance. Amal spent her mornings buried in lectures and international legal cases, her laptop open from dawn to dusk. George rehearsed his lines alone, walking the garden paths where laughter once echoed. They crossed paths at dinner, spoke kindly, but something had changed. Their conversations had become polite performances instead of shared confessions. To outsiders, the Clooneys still seemed flawless, attending events hand in hand, exchanging smiles under camera flashes. But friends who visited them in Provence described a quiet tension beneath the calm. Amal, ever the perfectionist, valued order and discipline. George, who had built a life on creativity and spontaneity, felt increasingly out of place. She doesn't see unpredictability as charm anymore, one acquaintance observed. She sees it as risk. And that difference, subtle, invisible, began to divide them. There were no explosive arguments, no shouting matches, just long silences that said what words no longer could. Amal's days were full of structure and meaning. George's were slower, filled with reflection and a growing sense of displacement. He loved her still deeply, but felt like a guest in his own marriage, a man unsure whether to speak or stay silent. Relationship experts often say that the most dangerous sound in a marriage isn't shouting, it's silence. That silence had moved into their home, filling every empty room. And while the world saw two icons gracefully balancing love and ambition, behind closed doors they were simply two people trying to remember what closeness felt like, before ambition, distance, and time took its quiet toll. Trial, separation, and the media storm. By early 2025, the rumors could no longer be ignored. Amal was living in Oxford full-time, surrounded by students and casework, while George stayed in New York chasing his Broadway dream. Their worlds, once intertwined, had begun to drift into different orbits. Insiders described it not as conflict, but as quiet separation born of overwork and distance. Still, they remained in touch, sharing bedtime calls with their twins and exchanging updates across time zones. Yet as the months passed, the space between them began to feel heavier. When the tabloids caught on, headlines began to scream about a trial, separation, and marriage on the edge. Both George and Amal stayed silent, a silence that only fueled speculation. Reports described the couple's separation as mutual and dignified, with both choosing space for reflection rather than confrontation. Clooney, true to form, refused to confirm or deny anything, focusing instead on his work. Through it all, their restraint told the real story, not of bitterness, but of two people quietly trying to navigate life's second act under the world's loudest spotlight. Amal's public words, grace with a hint of distance. When Glamour magazine published Amal Clooney's fall 2025 interview, readers expected beauty tips and insights into her professional life. What they didn't expect was the subtle heartbreak hidden between her words. Speaking about her marriage, she said gently, "I have a partner in life who is so supportive of what I do. When I became a mom, he was the first to say, 'You've got this,' speech at the Security Council, 'I'll take care of the kid.'" It sounded like gratitude, but underneath it, there was something quieter, a tone of reflection more than celebration. For the first time in months, Amal had spoken publicly about George. Her words, while kind, carried the softness of nostalgia rather than the certainty of now. Observers noticed how she described the past tense. He was the first to say, as if recalling a chapter rather than living it. George reportedly read the interview while in Provence. Friends said it moved him deeply. He admired her strength, her brilliance, and her compassion, yet those same qualities reminded him of the distance between them. Fame had given them everything, but it had also taken away the one thing they couldn't buy back: simplicity. In private conversations, George admitted to close friends that he missed the version of their life before the world intruded. Before every word, every photograph became a headline. "I never wanted to be a headline about love," he confided. "I just wanted to be a husband." Amal's interview calmed the rumors temporarily, but for those paying attention, it revealed more than it concealed. It wasn't the speech of a woman ready to walk away. It was the voice of someone trying to hold on to something precious, even as it slowly drifted out of reach. Quick reminder: don't miss more untold Hollywood moments. Tap subscribe now and keep watching. It was in a quiet, unplanned interview that caught everyone off guard. Asked whether the rumors of separation were true, he paused, long enough for silence to speak first. Then he said softly, "Marriage isn't about staying the same. It's about holding on when everything around you changes, and when you change too." He never confirmed a divorce, nor did he deny it. Instead, he spoke about something deeper: the loneliness that can exist even between two people who still love each other. Sometimes, he admitted, you can sit across from the person you love and feel miles away. It wasn't bitterness, it was grief, the kind that comes when love doesn't end, but evolves into something quieter and harder to define. For fans, it was shocking not because it was scandalous, but because it was real. The man known for charm and composure had finally lowered his guard. Friends later said it was his way of telling the truth, without hurting anyone. An acknowledgement that perfection was never the goal, only honesty. Clooney's words reminded the world that even the most admired couples are human, that distance isn't always measured in miles, and that sometimes, love's greatest test is learning when to let silence. Aftermath, acceptance in different worlds. By the end of 2025, the Clooneys' once shared world had settled into two separate rhythms. Amal continued to teach law at Oxford, raising their twins in the calm English countryside. George spent most of his days in Provence, balancing vineyard work, directing projects, and the lingering echo of Broadway applause. Friends described their new reality not as a breakup, but as an understanding, two lives that still cared deeply, but had accepted that closeness no longer meant sameness. George, now 64, often spoke about time as both gift and thief. "Forever," he once joked to a friend, "is harder than I thought." He missed the noise of family life, the laughter of his children, Amal's morning energy, yet he found peace in stillness. Amal, ever composed, poured herself into advocacy and motherhood, her focus as sharp as ever. They still talked often, still visited during holidays, but the tone had changed. To the world, they remained graceful. No accusations, no bitterness, just two people navigating love's quieter stage. Their story became less about loss and more about resilience, about how even when love bends, it doesn't always break. And somewhere between distance and devotion, the Clooneys found what many never do. Accept, because sometimes the most powerful form of love is knowing when to let it evolve instead of forcing it to stay the same. The bottom line: love after fame. In the end, there was no villain in the Clooney story, only two people caught between time, change, and the quiet pull of different worlds. Their journey wasn't about betrayal or scandal, it was about the evolution of love itself, how even the strongest bond can be tested by ambition, distance, and the passage of years. George and Amal showed that love doesn't always end in dramatic collapse. Sometimes, it simply reshapes into something gentler, quieter, and more real. Their story leaves us with one timeless question: can love truly survive success? Can two people hold on to each other when the world keeps demanding more from both? If you found this story meaningful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because next we're uncovering another untold chapter from Hollywood's most fascinating life.